Last year, I came across an old screenshot on my phone. It was a screenshot of my bank balance, taken on the first day of the month right after my salary had been credited. Out of curiosity, I opened my banking app and compared it with my balance at the end of that same month. The difference shocked me. Not because I had spent money on anything extraordinary. There was no expensive vacation, no new phone, no luxury purchase that I could point at and say, that's where the money went. The money had simply disappeared. What bothered me wasn't the amount. It was the fact that I couldn't explain it. If someone had asked me where most of my salary had gone, I genuinely wouldn't have had an answer. That thought stayed with me for days. A few weeks later, I was sitting in a cafe waiting for a friend when I noticed something strange. The person sitting next to me was entering something into a spreadsheet on their laptop. Every few minutes, they would open a banking app, type something into the sheet, and continue working. I wasn't trying to spy on them, but curiosity got the better of me. When my friend arrived, I jokingly told him about it. He laughed and said, maybe they're tracking their expenses. Tracking expenses? It sounded incredibly boring. The kind of thing people do for 3 days and then forget forever. But for some reason, I couldn't stop thinking about it. That night, I opened Excel and created the most basic expense sheet imaginable. Nothing fancy. Just a date, a description, and an amount. My plan was simple. For 1 month, I would record every expense, not change my spending, not create a budget, not try to save money, just observe. That's all. The first few days were uneventful. A coffee, a cab ride, a subscription renewal, lunch. Everything looked normal. In fact, after the first week, I was convinced the experiment was pointless. I already knew where my money was going. Or at least I thought I did. Then one evening, I started reviewing what I had recorded so far. That's when I noticed something I had never seen before. Patterns. Tiny patterns. The kind that are invisible when you're spending, but impossible to ignore when they're written down in front of you. There wasn't one giant leak in my finances. There were hundreds of tiny ones, food deliveries that I barely remembered ordering. Subscriptions I had forgotten existed. Impulse purchases that seemed harmless in the moment. None of them looked expensive individually, but together they told a completely different story. For the first time, I wasn't looking at transactions. I was looking at habits, and habits are much harder to ignore. As the month went on, something unexpected happened. I didn't force myself to spend less. I didn't follow a strict budget. I didn't stop enjoying life. But simply knowing that every expense would end up on that sheet changed my behavior. Not dramatically, subtly. I started asking myself small questions before spending money. Do I actually need this? Will I even care about this tomorrow? Am I buying this because I want it or because I'm bored? Those tiny pauses added up. By the end of the month, I sat down with a cup of coffee and opened the spreadsheet one final time. I expected to learn something. I didn't expect what happened next. After reviewing everything, I checked my savings account. Then I checked it again, and then a third time. Because somehow, without earning more money, without taking a second job, and without turning into an extreme minimalist, I had saved more money than I normally did. Not a life-changing amount, but enough to make me realize something important. The biggest improvement didn't come from earning more. It came from paying attention. That spreadsheet had done something no budgeting app, finance book, or productivity video had managed to do. It forced me to see the truth, not the version of my spending that existed in my head, the real version, the one hidden inside hundreds of tiny decisions. Since then, I've continued refining that simple tracker. Over time, it evolved into something much more useful, helping me see spending patterns, savings trends, and financial habits much more clearly. If keeping track of money is something you've struggled with, I've linked the tracker I use in the description. Feel free to check it out. But even if you never use it, try this experiment once. Track every expense for 30 days. Not to judge yourself, not to restrict yourself, just to observe. You might be surprised by what your money has been trying to tell you all along.